Welcome to the Resistance Radio. I'm your host, Harvey Dent, and tonight I want to show you the 3 structures in San Francisco that I believe were existing before the Mudflood, pre our time. I will present to you my proof and my evidence, and using just basic logic and common sense, you should be able to come to the same conclusion that I did, that, these buildings were not built by the people that they claim built them. Well, let's start the list off with a little exercise, okay? I want you to close your eyes and imagine it is the year 1915, and this just appeared. It just appeared. Yeah, there's no construction pictures. We don't have any pictures of any construction of this. But hey, it's here. It's the Palace of Fine Arts. It was originally constructed of waste material. They had planned to tear it down after a year. No construction photos whatsoever. While the palace had been saved from demolition, its structure was not stable. Originally intended to only stand for the duration of the exhibition, the colonnade and rotunda were not built of durable materials and thus framed in wood and then covered with staff, a mixture of plaster and burlap-type fiber. As a result of construction and vandalism, by the 1950s, the simulated ruin was in fact a crumbling ruin. In 1964, the original palace was completely demolished, with only the steel structure of the exhibit hall left standing. The buildings were then reconstructed until 1974, so it took them 10 years to reconstruct what took them originally 1 year to build and stood for over 60 years. So there's no construction photos, but they have plenty of photos for you, as you can see, during the teardown, which even these are questionable. This one has always looked odd to me. Look how half of the building is standing by itself with no scaffolding. Where's all the scaffolding they always use? Exercise time again. Close your eyes and imagine that you are in the year 1912, and one day you notice this walking through your neighborhood. You think that's odd. You weren't aware of any new construction. Plus, that can't be under construction. There's no machinery. So a couple of weeks go by, you decide to swing by the building and see where they're at, and wham! It's done! See how fast they used to build things before unions got involved? This castle only took a year and a half to build. The contract was awarded to the construction firm of McLaren and Peterson. Construction began in September 1912 and proceeded steadily for a year and a half. By June 1914, the new California Armory and Arsenal was completed and occupied. Sometimes you gotta like how Wikipedia gives too much information, like their controversy section, which points to a groundwater controversy because this armory is supposedly built above a creek. So guides that were employed by kink.com were reporting that this is, a creek that's running under the building. Wikipedia is sure that the water in the sub-basement is groundwater, which would have percolated through the soils into nearby Mission Creek during the time it existed as an open waterway, which is why we have to look at more than one resource. So there's another resource that says that this building was intentionally built on top of a running creek, just in case things got tough for the unit, they could hunker down and use the fresh water in order to survive. So now what can we do? We have one resource saying that it's not creek water, another resource saying that it is. Well, luckily, we have me. See, I used to work at kink.com. I worked at kink.com for about 8 months, and I went through that entire building. Do you know that there are at least 3 floors beneath this street level floor? Yeah, there's at least 3 levels. You're probably thinking, no way, but I'm not exaggerating. Look at this door, this entry. You climb marble stairs to the floor above. You see where those skinny windows are in the brick? That's where the entry is. That's the first level, but there's 3 levels beneath there. Yes, that is correct. I'm saying that there are 3 levels beneath what you see there at the white door. And at that third bottommost level, there's a creek running through there. What I saw and heard was running water. Not standing water, running water. Now remember that construction photo I showed you. This is the only construction photo that exists of this building. I don't see 3 floors dug beneath that they built this 3 floors on top of. The scale is all off. It doesn't even look like the same building that exists. It doesn't look like the same building that artists have renderings of. But if you believe they went from this to this, don't forget the 3 floors that I testified to seeing underneath. In a year and a half, then you'll believe anything. Now this last stop will be at the San Francisco Ferry Building, or Pier 1, where we have a first picture of it from 1868. We also have another picture of it from 1878. Okay, now this is before the building was actually constructed, but most records say that it was constructed in 1898. Yeah, 1898. Unfortunately, we have no construction photos of this building that was constructed in 1898. Too bad the architect, Arthur Page, would die before its completion in 1896. But yeah, 1898. The Ferry Building was constructed in 1898. Now, what year did we say the building was constructed? In 1898. That's right. 1898. It was the largest construction project ever undertaken in the city. Yeah, 1898. You would think 6 years of construction they would have at least one photo, but nope, not one photo. Looks like we're going to require testimony from someone that was around during that period, someone that was around before the Great Fire and Earthquake. Speaking of the Great Fire and Earthquake, if the Great Fire and Earthquake happened in 1906, then why is there still scaffolding on this clock tower when it allegedly was completed in 1898? And if it truly was completed in 1898, then someone forgot to inform the most important entity in this whole deal, the Ferry Building. Because if you ask the Ferry Building when construction was completed, it would tell you 1896. Erected in 1896. Why is every other record of it 1898? And why, upon closer investigation, does it look like this date may have even been tampered with or added to? Maybe from this perspective, it does look like the A, the D, and the 1 in the 1896 were added after the fact. They look like different sizes. Just my observation. If you make the same observation, then hey, we made the same observation. But obviously, we'll do better off asking the buildings the questions than we would be asking any historian or building planning department that is supposed to keep this kind of information, either because they don't know or are trying to hide the truth. Until you find your truth, keep looking.